Hello. For this lecture, we're going to be talking about the Neolithic Revolution and the development of states. The Neolithic Revolution is the beginning of agriculture, plant and animal domestication. All of our earlier ancestors were foragers, people who lived by collecting wild plants and hunting. They did not grow their own food. Humans survived for millions of years as foragers. We started domesticating our first animals about 20,000 years ago with dogs. Then we began to domesticate many more plants and animals. Domestication, it's the process of adapting plants and animals for human use. It is also when we take a species bred in captivity and we modify it from its wild ancestors. The pictures show you wild corn. Now on the left, you can see the wild corn, the cobs and actual seeds are very small. Foragers for thousands of years were selecting the best seed size and allowing those to repopulate the plant. And what they did is slowly start to transform the plant until we have the large corn kernels of today. There were 5 main centers of domestication throughout the world. They are northern China, Indus Valley, the Middle East, Mexico, and Peru. This is a map of the 5 major centers of domestication. There were many other areas that were secondary centers of domestication, and agriculture spread quite rapidly. Now, agriculture created a high-calorie food supply and also created surplus food, but stored foods could grow scarce before the new harvest, and poor crops could lead to mass starvation. On the left is a man in an agricultural field harvesting large amounts of food for his family and other people. There is a surplus. On the right, we see the skeletal face of a child between the ages of 10 and 12. If you look closely at the child's teeth, you can see that there's 4 lines on the front teeth. What those are indications of periods of either very low nutrition or starvation. This child experienced periods in its development where the body could not continue to grow due to lack of food or nutrients. And we can see signs of these nutritional deficiencies in their teeth. This is an example of a person who has iron deficiency anemia. Farmers became dependent on less than a dozen plants, leading to nutritional problems. We still have this problem today in our society. We have a high-calorie, high-fat diet, but oftentimes it lacks essential nutrients and vitamins. When your body lacks certain nutrients, it will go and scavenge those nutrients from the bone, and we can see here it scavenged iron. This is a partial list of animals that were domesticated. We have here wild and domesticated pig, wild and domesticated sheep, cows, and goats. We also domesticated different types of birds. What I would like you to remember about animal domestication is that in the old world, this is the location where most of the animals were domesticated, this entire list here. In the New World, fewer animals were domesticated. We have the dog like we have throughout the world. We also have the turkey. A few other cultures domesticated other animals as well. We'll talk about the Inca later and their domestication of different animals. But there's a big difference between the Old World and the New World in terms of domestication. New World has few domesticated animals, the Old World has many. The New World, however, has higher nutrient and more diverse plant foods than the Old World. And people probably had a diet more focused on plant foods. This created diseases that are shared by animals and humans. This is called zoonosis. When humans domesticated animals, they started living and working closely with these animals. This allowed the disease, the parasites, the ticks and fleas to transfer from the animals to the humans, oftentimes causing disease. And most of our major plagues are from this close domesticated relationship we had with animals. Smallpox is an old world disease that killed a majority of children, and it killed hundreds of millions of people in our prehistory. It's a very deadly disease. We now have a vaccination for it and have not had a case of smallpox for many decades. The early problems in the Neolithic were social inequality and poor health. Remember, foragers had social equality. They were egalitarian. Foragers also had a diet that had a lot of variety and a lot of nutrients. It was high in nutrients and low in fat. So let's look at the Neolithic or the farming people. First off, their life expectancies fall below that of foragers. Infant mortality kills most children. Part of that is due to the low nutritional food and also due to the diseases that people are experiencing. Populations suffer from nutritional deficiencies and starvation. Also, violence and warfare spreads throughout the world. Foragers had some violence and even some warfare, but it is somewhat rare. Neolithic people become very violent and you see warfare worldwide. Good agricultural lands had to be protected, and people do not share the wealth. We start to see inequalities in wealth among the Neolithic. Whole villages and towns are massacred. Murder and violence become more common. On the left is a mass murder, prehistoric one. People were thrown into a pit and buried. On the right is an example of someone's skull after they've been hit in the head with a club. It tends to crack open the skull.